Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest poll of British businesses and their attitude to the prospect of a no-deal Brexit. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, bit of a catch-up. We have a bit of a situation at the moment, and that situation is as follows. If we are to get a free trade agreement with the EU, we have to follow a few rules. But Boris Johnson appears to have manoeuvred himself politically into a position where it would be impossible to agree to those rules now because it would look like a major climb down on his part. And so, although I will absolutely not say that a no-deal Brexit is certain until it is formally announced, the government is giving the strongest possible impression. They may be trying to bluff, but they are giving the strongest possible impression that this is what it's going to be. And it makes no difference whether that is the intention or whether Boris Johnson is genuinely of the belief that the EU will back down if he just stares them out. It's the same likely outcome, because if that is what he believes, he's in for a bit of a shock in the next month. Now, the major sticking point with regards to a free trade deal seems now to be down to three things, which is a bit of an improvement, really. One, we refuse to discuss fishing rights. For some maddening reason, we do. Two, we are also refusing to explain what our state aid rules are going to be. That's all we have to do, tell the EU what our state aid rules are going to be. Now, it's hardly surprising that they can't say what those are because Conservatives are not at all interested in state aid. The idea that we would want looser state aid rules than the EU, that the idea that the EU state aid rules are too harsh somehow, is absolutely ridiculous. Because Conservative governments, including Boris Johnson's Conservative government, do not use state aid very much. They don't use as much as they're even allowed with EU rules. Also, we have signed up to more stringent state aid rules than the EU insist upon with Japan for the Japanese trade deal. As a result, I think this is just a distraction. It makes no sense not to discuss state aid rules. Three, we are refusing to shelve the internal market bill, which, amongst other things, seeks to rewrite the withdrawal agreement, particularly regarding the Northern Ireland Protocol. And it looks like Conservative MPs are falling into line on that one. And if these sticking points are not dealt with rather quickly now, we will actually have run out of time. Because we do not have until the end of the year to agree terms. Because when we agree terms, or if we agree terms, it has to be ratified. The EU needs, if it works quickly, a couple of months to do that. So that means, realistically, we've got... In fact, Boris Johnson himself has set a deadline of the 15th of October, but then he's set deadlines before. But the EU are also in agreement with that, realistically. Yeah, about mid-October is probably when you want to have the agreement. So there are some who think we have, realistically, another week to actually pull the iron out of the fire. Timely response from the CBI, who have conducted a poll of British businesses and found that 77% want a deal to be agreed, with only 4% happy with a no-deal outcome. Now, the CBI's Director General, Carolyn Fairbairn, identified three problems for businesses right now. One, recovering from the first COVID wave, which has knackered a lot of businesses. Two, getting ready to deal with the uncertainty of a second wave. They do not know how that's going to pan out. They do not know what restrictions are going to randomly come in overnight. And it's very difficult to prepare for that when they're already knackered from the first wave. And then three, because those conditions may exist in a number of other countries, but three, having to deal with the absolutely seismic changes to trading arrangements from the end of this year. And these concerns, of course, have not been helped by the news that we are going to have lorries stuck for days at our most important port. And we're not even talking about what's going to happen at the other ports. Do not even know what the government think about that. Also, the news that the systems that we're going to need to negotiate our new customs arrangements have not even been fully built and tested yet. And I also saw a report suggesting that, and I'm going to have to quote this, because this was surprising to me, and I'm not sure I believe it. There is growing belief in Westminster that the Prime Minister is not willing to face a no-deal exit from the transition period at a time when the country is struggling to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. Growing belief in Westminster. That means growing belief amongst MPs. That's what that means, MPs. But what is giving this belief to MPs? Why are MPs increasingly of the belief that Boris Johnson will not accept a no deal? Is it because they're talking to him or people close to him and getting the strong impression that he really is dead against a no deal Brexit at the end of this year? Or are they just looking at the situation and thinking, only a madman would want to exit the transition period without a deal right now with COVID and everything? And I don't think Boris Johnson is actually mad. And what if Johnson does want to avoid a no-deal outcome? And I think he does. Don't get me wrong. I do not think Boris Johnson is relishing the prospect of a no-deal Brexit. But that's just my hunch. My inclination is towards Boris Johnson genuinely wanting a deal, but fundamentally not understanding what is needed to secure one. Again, he thinks the EU's red lines are a negotiating position. The accidental no deal is the outcome I think most likely and the one, I most fear. Because if Johnson is not prepared to go ahead with a no deal Brexit, and his lack of preparations might, be evidence for suggesting that, how is he going to avoid one? So then you try and think to yourself, so how does he at this point avoid a no deal Brexit? Because he's put himself on a collision course with EU rules. If he agrees to follow the rules that he's saying he's not going to agree to get a deal, then he will be seen to have backed down. And it really shouldn't have been backing down, because all the EU are asking for, they haven't put anything new on the table over this year. All they're asking for us to do is to agree to the rules that we agreed to in the withdrawal agreement at the start of the year. But the way Boris Johnson looked at it is he said, well, there's two bits here. There's the treaty, which is legally binding. OK, we'll agree to that, except even that's changed now. And then there's the political declaration, which was not legally binding. Fair enough. But he's looked at that as, well, this is what we'll just say to get it through. But I've got no intention of honouring this, which we all knew. I knew that over a year ago. But at the same time, the EU expects the political declaration. I mean, it's not legally binding, but they expect us to honour that as well, because we agreed to it. Gentleman's agreement. And that's all we have to do. We just have to agree to that. And that can be the basis for a free trade agreement. That was the whole point of it, in fact. That was the oven-ready deal. Nothing extra we have to sign up to. But this government has set itself on a path, quite deliberately, of denying what was in the withdrawal agreement to the point where it will now look like backing down if we actually honour the treaty and the political declaration that he campaigned for and signed. And what if Johnson, let us say that Boris Johnson was just playing chicken, and then when it came to it and he sees that the EU is not going to move, he realises that he's on a tricycle and they're in a big old juggernaut, and he thinks, hey up, I need to swerve here. So what if he's prepared to be seen to be backing down? What if he makes the political calculation that a no-deal chaos in January would be even more damaging to his government than giving up on the EU rules argument? Would he still be able to do that? Because it's not like he has unilateral power to agree anything, because it would have to be ratified in Parliament. Would the hard right in his party accept it? A majority of Conservative Party members are in favour of a no deal. Whether they've sufficiently thought it through is another matter, but that is the fact of the matter. There's also a good 100 or more Conservative MPs who seem to be genuinely in favour of a no deal outcome. And these are the extremists in the party. These are the ones who will absolutely split the party if they don't get what they want. And there are certainly hedge fund managers very close to the party leadership who are betting the farm on a no-deal Brexit. We've seen that from their investments. They will not be making their expected fortunes if we suddenly agree a deal before the end of the year. They want the pound to crash. And if Boris Johnson did agree something with the EU, what would he be doing it for? To avoid chaos in January? That'll still happen. It won't be as bad, but it will still happen because a free trade agreement helps our trade, but it doesn't stop customs checks because that's related to customs arrangements. We're diverging customs arrangements. We're leaving the customs union, so there has to be customs checks. That is the main aspect of the Brexit that we are not prepared for. Would the purpose of a deal simply be to blame the EU for customs chaos in January? You know, with delays at the border, confuse the public by saying, well, we arranged a free trade agreement. This shouldn't be happening. It's only happening because the EU are being difficult about it and that sort of thing. Whereas in the event of an actual no deal, there's nowhere for Boris Johnson to hide. You know, the chaos will be down to his Brexit vision. Of course, yes, they will still blame the EU. They will blame British businesses for not, you know, getting up on the rules. They will blame the general public, as they do. And dispiritingly, it will work on some of his supporters. Quite a lot of them, I would imagine. But you could also imagine that there'll be a whole new section of society who will have their eyes opened when Project Fear becomes Project Reality. Of course, it will be too late for many of that 77% of businesses who are desperately calling on the government to arrange a deal, and the workers they pay, of course, as well as people indirectly impacted by the loss of public services as tax receipts go down and the government continue to prioritise giving public money to their friends and party donors over those actually, you know, in the country, the population. We won't count. But there we go. There it is. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.